What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Kind of Funny Xcast, your home for all things Xbox here at Kind of Funny. Of course, I'm one of your hosts, SnowBikeMike, and I am joined this week by my guy, the rogue one, Mr. Gary Whitta. We're back at it again, missing our third chair, but I got a special guest for us. But first off, Gary, how you doing? How you feeling? How was your week?
I'm good. I've been very busy. I don't think I've even touched a video game this week. It's been one of those weeks that I've just been I know it's unthinkable to Mike, who lives, breathes video games. I don't know when the last time, Mike, was you even went 24 hours without playing a video game. But I've got an entire week because I've just had working all day and then just exhausted, want to crash. Sometimes I've got enough energy left to watch a TV show, but picking up a controller and interacting with a game, it's just I just can't. I don't have enough gas left in the tank. So I haven't touched a video game all week, but I will be getting back into some gaming this weekend for sure.
Good. I hope you get back to some gaming. I know you're always working hard, Gary, and trust me, I'm playing enough games for the both of us. I'm staying up late. I'm hot dropping into the war zone. I'm now deep sea diving in Subnautica. I'm having a ton of fun, but we'll talk about what we've been playing in just a little bit. And Gary, one more thing for you. You brought up, I haven't gone 24 hours without gaming in a long time. It's probably true thanks to xCloud, Gary. Did you know that even if I'm on vacation away from the box, I still can play games, which I absolutely love. And it really helps me because I love gaming so much. But enough about me, enough about you. We got to turn our attention right here to the middle of the screen if you're watching on YouTube or if you're listening on podcast services. Guess what? You're going to recognize this voice because I have brought on friend of the show. I'm a mega fan. I'm going to call him a mega Xbox influencer, podcaster, YouTuber. He does it all. He's an extraordinary guy. The one, the only, Colt Eastwood. How are you, Colt? Thanks for joining us this week.
Thanks, fellas. It's really good to be here, and thank you. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
This is my voice.
It's iconic to me, Colt. I was telling you before the show, and we'll talk about here, getting ready for the Xcast a year ago when we were preparing for this, we were jumping around, listening to all different podcasts, different YouTubers, and you stuck out to me, Colt, because you have that voice that captures my attention, that really draws me into the content and really keeps me. And I'm so impressed because we'll talk about it right now. Let's just jump into it. You run an incredible YouTube channel and you break down all the latest, greatest news from Xbox. And previously, Colt, you used to just put gameplay up and you would talk over that and voice over it. Now you've gone on to on-camera work, showing your beautiful face, getting more of an intimate connection with your fans out there. What has that been like, that transition on the YouTube channel for you?
That has been immediately rewarding. It was nerve-wracking to grab a camera, and it's one thing to get in front of a mic and talk about video games in a room by yourself. It feels a little funny sometimes, but to Alexa, stop. But that's the announcement to go pick up my kid. But somebody else is gonna do that. So yeah, it's one thing to do that, but to put a camera up in front and talk about gaming to a camera by myself, it was a little weird. But the audience has been so incredibly supportive and complimentary. They're pretty nice. How I look or how I compose myself on a camera. It's not something I've really ever done in my life. So it was a brand new thing, and it's super rewarding. I'm really happy.
When you talk about keeping the composure and how you look and feel in front of the camera, I have a fun one, and we'll tie in, of course, with our good friend Phil Spencer, who's always rocking the nice jacket graphic tee combo. Is there a thought process as you turn on to that of what you're wearing, how your hair looks, how you're slouching? Are you standing straight up? Have you been keeping an eye on that?
Yeah. There's a lot of funny quirks that I've learned. I have a closet full of clothes and I only like half of them, right? I have a merch store. I'm wearing my Be Nice Colt Eastwood shirt. Sometimes I try to grab one of the shirts that I've made for my channel. Sometimes I find a shirt that I know I look cool in. It's just funny, a lot of people I do this angle, kind of an angle thing to the camera instead of straight on because it looks a little more interesting. And everyone has a comment about, hey, does he have a left ear? And stuff like that. But I really love reading about it in the comments because before I couldn't connect with my audience as a disembodied voice on a microphone talking about Xbox, and I read everybody's comments, just about all of them. And getting in front of the camera gave them an opportunity to get to know me a little bit better. And that is really rewarding for me, if I'm being selfish. But yeah, I really like it.
I love that. And I have been able to create a deeper connection with you, Colt. And I know everybody else that watches your content is the same way. We should probably rewind a bit because I know I jumped head first and I was so excited to see you. What if nobody knows who you are, Colt Eastwood, and all the best friends from the Kind of Funny community want to look you up or see what you do? You know, who are you? What do you do? What do you create, Colt?
Yeah, I'm Colt Eastwood, one word, Colt Eastwood, and I'm Colt Eastwood most places. On Instagram, where I'm there just a little bit. I'm mostly on YouTube and Twitter a lot, where I'm talking to everybody. I create one video a week, and I have an Xbox-centric podcast on Monday nights that is live on YouTube for about an hour and a half. And I have that podcast goes on podcast platforms for audio. It's on all the major platforms, so people can listen there. And I just talk about how Xbox has had these problems with the Xbox One, and how they started to change those things and evolve and create a better console and build studios. And basically a Xbox content creator that talks about what Xbox needs to fix and how they're getting it done. And it makes me really glad that they are doing that right now.
That's really exciting, Colt. And that's what we're going to talk about on this episode. Of course, this is the fun Mega Predictions E3 Spectacular. And we're going to talk about what we think, what we expect, our hopes and dreams for the show. And it's fun because you talk about it, right? You talk about the old generation. And this is the first true next generation E3 that we will get here with Xbox for this new console. Of course, just came out in November. We get to look forward and see what's happening with 23 different studios and a whole lot of games coming our way. But that will be fun to dive in with you. I want to ask you, Colt, you know, you've been in the YouTube game. How long has that been, and what was the drive to start talking about Xbox?
I started doing YouTube content around the time the Xbox One came out because you could record with the DVR. You had the game DVR, we could record 30-second clips, and I would splice a few together, and then I would talk about the things that concerned me that were going on. Because when the Xbox One launched, I almost went to be a PlayStation-only owner because I didn't like the way the console launched, but I followed my friends, Titanfall 2 and other games. And I'm glad I did. And what I realized was the Xbox One got a really bad rap for a long time. And I realized that it was such a great platform that people didn't understand what made it so great. Even the Kinect voice commands made the console really great to use. So I started creating these videos and kind of went from there. But nobody really watched my content as it is when you start YouTube. Like I would spend 3 or 4 hours on a video and 45 people would watch it. I get like 4 comments. And there is a YouTuber that I watched every week named Dealer Gaming. And I made a podcast with him. And he reached out to me one day and said, "Hey, Colt, I really like your content. Let's figure out why people aren't watching it." And so we got a call on Hangouts, on Google Hangouts. And he talked to me for about a couple hours. And he said, "Don't do this, change this, make sure you're doing this and this and this." And I swear, like 2 or 3 videos later, my views went from 45 to 2,000 or 3,000. And then it just went up and up. And I started talking about Project Scorpio, and that was really good timing. And it's changed my life. It really has, to meet thousands of people in comment sections. And it's a life-changing thing. Really,
I got to get some of those tips from you because no one watches my YouTube videos either. I got to figure out what I'm doing wrong. No, it's interesting what Colt says because it's true. When I first started putting content on YouTube, I kind of went down a little bit of a rabbit hole of learning kind of the do's and don'ts. And obviously, there are many of us many people who have come before us and have learned all of these lessons. And now we can learn from, well, I learned by making this mistake, so you don't have to. And there is a whole science to like how you compose a thumbnail, what you put in the headline title. And it's, and it's actually why like so many YouTube thumbnails and titles look the same, because everyone's kind of gravitated towards these, what I consider now to be best practices. But it's really, really interesting, the science of like how you get people to watch a YouTube video.
It is. And I have, Dealer saw something in me because I was bringing something that some of the people in the community weren't. Like I was trying to go the extra mile to break out and get people to notice me. And I thought if I looked legit enough or professional enough that people would watch my stuff, and that make sure the videos were enjoyable. I have a background in graphic design. I have a bit of background in communications and marketing. And I tried to kind of use all of my talents. I'm an illustrator. I tried to throw everything that I could do and make my videos as good as they could possibly be. And it helps, I guess. Because I think if someone watches a video and they think, man, that was a really good video, or that person, he or she put a lot of effort into that and really did the research and made it really interesting and fun to watch, and that maybe they'll share it with a friend, and that's all you can hope for, really.
That's awesome, Colt. And so we'll round out the get to know you stuff with, when did that start to turn for you? When did you notice that people were connecting with your Xbox talk and you were really making that turn and you started to get to where you are today?
It was a couple of weeks, honestly. It was so crazy. So it was around March in 2017 when Dealer and I had that phone call, and by April, I had videos that were doing really, really well. And then this is such a fluke, but by June, I put out a video trying to show the PlayStation guys that since Project Scorpio was coming, that they would want PlayStation 5 ASAP. So I made this like really strong video, about 5.5 minutes, about all the reasons why Sony would want to get ahead and get the PS5 out as soon as possible, not allow the Xbox One X to dominate in multiplats for years and years and years. So I made a really compelling argument that 2019 was the date that PS5 was going to drop, and that video got 3 million views. And that's when things really went crazy. And I never repeated that. Never repeated 3 million views, but it was pretty cool. Pretty cool.
That does sound really, really cool.
I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but like the video hit 50,000. It was one of my higher videos at the time. And then a month later, it hit 500,000. I'm like, what in the world? And I remember one day looking at my phone and checking the YouTube app. And like every time I checked it, I'd gain 15 subscribers. I thought, this is unreal. So, yeah, it's crazy. But I don't make PlayStation content that much. That was mostly like hey, PlayStation guys, I bet you really need this right now. I don't do that stuff as much anymore, but...
Okay, I like that. Let's go rapid fire on these final questions right now. Of course, Colt, you have an incredible setup behind you, and I always love seeing the progression that you did when you knew you were going to turn to on-camera work. But I want to know, what are some of your passions outside of gaming? I see the vinyls behind you. I know you got the guitar back there. What are some of the passions when you put down
8 guitars? There's 8 guitars or something in here. Music and drawing are my big passions. Before YouTube is a really big one for me with gaming. That's like my mind is always thinking about what I'm playing. I'm playing Mass Effect Trilogy like I'm indoctrinated by the Reapers. I'm like crazy playing that game. But I've been playing guitar for a long time. I've been a lead singer in a couple bands, so vocals are a big thing in my life. Music and drawing cartoons. I don't know. I'm a weird guy, just a jack of all trades, and trying to be the best I can at each one of them, I suppose.
There you go. As long as you're trying and having fun, that's the main goal in life, is right. Final couple questions for you. First off, what's the favorite Xbox franchise / game?
Oh my gosh. I mean, right now it's playing Mass Effect Remastered, the Legendary Edition, has just taught me that I've always kind of gone back to Mass Effect or Borderlands, maybe Fallout, but it's got to be Mass Effect. The feelings I get when I play this game over again, like it's brand new. Mass Effect is my favorite franchise of all. Absolutely.
Gary, when you keep hearing all this Mass Effect talk and you see it on social media, people dumping the screenshots, do you just want to throw it all away and just sit on the couch and start playing again? Because I know you love it.
I mean, honestly, the only reason, it's a compliment, but the only reason why I haven't gotten back into Mass Effect Legendary Edition is I know that if I go back, I'm going all the way back, like 150 hours of playtime, to get across all 3 of those games. I've said it a million times. I don't usually do this, but like I read every goddamn codex entry in the Mass Effect games. Every obscure planet, I learned everything about it because I was just so fascinated by the world building and how much detail and thought and effort they had put into it. And I really felt like I've said it before on this podcast, but it bears repeating. Mass Effect to me is not a game that you play; it's a place that you go to, and you live in that world, and you become completely immersed in that universe. And it's one of those games that you think about, even when you're not playing it. Like you're imaginatively, you're still there, on the bridge of the Normandy or on the Citadel or wherever else it is that you look. I just love it so much. Again, it's a testament to the game that I daren't, it's like I'm sure for example, like I'm sure crack is very enjoyable, but like I don't want to. But if somebody offered me a free sample, I wouldn't try it because I know I would then become a crack addict, and that's not good. I got work to do. So Mass Effect is it's digital crack. We all. This is why I won't go back to World of War. Actually, weirdly enough, I had a dream last night that I was like, you know what, I should give World of Warcraft a try again. I haven't played it in many years. Many great memories. I booted it up, found my old character, went back in there, and the next thing you know, like my life was over, because I remember just how when a game really, really gets its claws into you like that, it gets its claws into you to the exclusion of all else. Like you don't think about anything else. When I played Warcraft, like the dishes were piling up in the sink, the dog was clawing at the back door, wanting to go out, and like whatever. Next thing you know, the dog's a pile of bones, and you're getting evicted because you haven't paid your rent. You've got multiple Mountain Dew bottles full of piss, all over your bedroom floor.
But you're level 64.
But you got that legendary drop, right? So it was all worth it. Mass Effect is in that category of game for me. It's not like I'm going to pick it up and go, oh yeah, poke around the Citadel a little bit. Yeah, this is pretty good. I like what they've done with it. Anyway, on to the next thing. No, I would get sucked all the way back in. It probably is going to happen. I just can't do it right now when I've got too much else on my plate. But the next time things are a little quieter and I feel like I've got time to really dive back into something, it'll be there for me for sure. One of my all-time greatest gaming memories, and I would give the same answer as Colt. Like if we're not talking about format, like platform exclusives, Xbox exclusives, like multi-platform, I've said it before. Mass Effect 2, best game of the 360 generation. The Mass Effect trilogy, probably my favorite gaming series, in recent memory for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, Colt. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought about exclusives a lot. I was actually thinking about that same thing that you just said, Gary. I was thinking about that this morning. I'm like, I've played some amazing exclusives on the PS3 and PS4 and the Xbox One, and I've played these exclusives, and they're really great. But playing through Mass Effect again, the experience, it's just so good that I just can't put any other game above it right now. Like God of War and Spider-Man were amazing on the PS4. Ghost of Tsushima was an amazing experience for me. And I think back of like Halo 3 and Halo 2 and Gears. Like these games are really amazing, but they just don't do everything like Mass Effect does for me. Like I've been sitting there like big smile on my face, laughing out loud, getting choked up. Like when I talked to Thane Krios at the Citadel Hospital before anything, he was going to check in because things are going south on his health. And I'm sitting in this chair talking to him. I'm there. I am literally there as Commander Shepard. And I am like, my heart is sinking for this character that I've only spent like, 30 hours with. It's crazy. Nuts.
What a special one. You guys continue to hype up Mass Effect. I hope everybody out there is taking a chance and playing the Legendary Edition. Colt, let's round this out right now. Of course, you have the YouTube channel. One video a week is always the goal. You have the new podcast live recording on Monday, going up on the channel, then on podcast services. That's the Xbox Newscast, the XNC. Now, where can everybody find you? Let's get the plug in one last time while they're still listening.
If they're still here after all the Mass Effect talk, you can find me at Colt Eastwood on YouTube. That's one word, and that podcast will pop up on Monday afternoon if you're in the States, or when you should be in bed if you're in the UK. So, but if you're in the UK or Europe or Australia or wherever, I hear from people that watch the show all over the world. You can listen to that in your earbuds when you're doing your work in the next day or at the gym doing squats. It's great.
Love that, Colt. Thank you so much for joining us this week. And it's a very special episode. We're going to jump right into it. So some quick housekeeping news for you. Of course, this is the Kind of Funny Xcast. We post each and every Saturday at 6 a.m. West Coast, Best Coast time on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, roosterteeth.com, and on podcast services all around the globe. Please make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel over on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. If you aren't already, you're missing out on some great content, from first impressions to awesome reaction videos, especially with E3 coming around. You don't want to miss out on all of the Kind of Funny live reactions that will be taking place on YouTube, and of course, live over on twitch.com/kindoffunnyvids. So make sure to go check that out. And of course, big thank you to our Patreon supporters and the Patreon producers for the month of June. We have Donovan Harkness, Omega 3, Tyler Ross, Delaney Twinning, Julian the Gluten-Free Gamer, James Hastings, Casey Andrews, and Elliot. Of course, this episode of the Kind of Funny Xcast is sponsored by HVMN, but I'll tell you all about that a little bit later. Let's jump into this very special show. E3 is 1 week away, guys, and of course, it wouldn't be a YouTuber, podcaster, Kind of Funny edition without fun predictions. So today we're going to be jumping into our predictions. I don't care what they are, you two. I want to go wild. I even have Barrett coming off the bat. He's going to jump in. He's going to have some fun. Of course, if you already know things, I'm not going to tell you not to say it, but you know what? Maybe keep it close to the chest if you got that. We're going to probably talk about things we don't know and we're just guessing. There's going to be the easy ones out there, but I want you guys to get wacky, wild, and fun. Let's have a great conversation of what we'd like to see, what we hope to see, and what our hopes and wishes are for out there on the planet Mars when we're reaching. But a quick rundown of E3 week for everybody. If you don't know, if you're out of the loop, of course, you can check social media. They'll give you the rundown. But I just wanted to make sure all of our best friends know about the week ahead. On Thursday, things kick off with Summer Games Fest. That's happening at 11 a.m. All these times will be on the West Coast time, so plan accordingly. Friday, you're going to have Netflix Geeked Weekend, Coke Media, IGN Expo on Saturday, Guerrilla Collective, Wholesome Direct, Ubisoft Forward, Gearbox, Devolver Digital on Sunday, Xbox and Bethesda, Square Enix, PC Gaming, Future Games Show, Warner Brother Games will be there. On Monday, Take-Two, Capcom, Mythic Games, Freedom Games, and Razer. On Tuesday, Nintendo Direct/Treehouse, Bandai Namco, GameSpot, and the E3 Awards. Gary, an award show at E3? What the heck? We'll talk about that later. And on Wednesday, the Steam Next Fest. So a lot happening throughout the week. Of course, this is the Xbox-centric podcast, so we're going to try to keep it all Xbox-focused. But I do want to rewind because there's a couple big ones here that everybody should know about, and that's the Ubisoft Forward. Guys, we know that we're going to see Riders Republic, Rainbow Six Quarantine, with a new name, of course, after we're coming out of a year of quarantine. Probably best to change that name like they know. And Far Cry 6. So I wanted to look to you two. I mean, of course, everybody, and I'm sure we have it on a fun prediction of, like, where's Sam Fisher at? So I'll pose the question to you, Colt. You're the guest to kick us off. What are you looking forward to from Ubisoft Forward?
I thought you were going to ask me where Sam Fisher is.
He's in a mobile game, Colt. I already know that answer. Right.
Yeah, he refuses to show up in a big AAA game for everyone who wants that, which is everyone. I am really looking forward to Far Cry 6. I'm a big Far Cry fan. I like the games a lot. And even Far Cry 5 looked weird at first. I really enjoyed it. So this one looks great. And if it has a lot of the same things from... sort of has a lot of things we saw from Far Cry 5 and a couple of good ideas from Far Cry New Dawn, which wasn't a great game. Kind of a chore to play, in my opinion. So I'm looking forward to Far Cry 5. And Ubisoft puts out so many really great games and really great looking games. It's really hard to keep up with what the next hot drop is. They are incredible.
They are a strong team, and every single year you can bet your bottom dollar you're going to get a pretty good game out of them. Gary, what are you looking forward to out of this squad?
For Ubisoft, Far Cry is kind of a weird one for me. Every time they bring out a Far Cry game, I'm like, maybe this is the one I'll try and get into. And yet, and yet, when I take a closer look at them, I always kind of feel like, maybe not for me. I like the open world shooter, story based thing. As you know, I'm a very big story first guy. I got to have the narrative, Mike. I'm not like you skipping through the cutscenes because I just want to go kill stuff. Like, I don't want to know. I don't need the narrative context. I've got a gun. There's people over there. I've got to go shoot them. What more do you need to know? I like to know the context and meet the characters. And again, we talked about Mass Effect, right? Being a world where you get immersed in the story, and I want to get immersed in the story. And every Far Cry game Ubisoft does is right. Here's some really compelling characters, maybe some well-known actors, and here's an interesting, like, all the ingredients seem like they're there for like a compelling story-based, first-person experience. And yet when I actually get to the game, I'm like, this somehow kind of feels like it's added up to be like less than the sum of its parts. I'm not quite sure. They don't quite click for me. But I know Ubisoft can do it. Like, I love the storytelling and the world building in the Division games. I really enjoy those. I enjoy these. And my wife plays them. But I kind of sit there and watch. I'm kind of in the passenger seat watching her play Assassin's Creed, and I love what they do in those worlds. So I know that they can do these games. Add me onto the list of like, why isn't Splinter Cell back in a real way? We know there's a lot of money in mobile gaming, but come on, we want proper Splinter Cell. We want it on the big screen. Just think about what a true next gen Splinter Cell, title, could look like. The mind boggles. So if I have to make any predictions, like I have two, and I don't think either of them will happen. One is a new full fat Splinter Cell game, next gen Splinter Cell. I don't think we'll see it, but we live in hope. And the other one would be, and I think this is too early, I don't think we'll see this yet, but I would like to see the next Assassin's Creed game be set in a historical period, which is a little more contemporary than the ancient ones that they've been doing. They spent a lot of time in ancient Greece, the Viking times and stuff like that. And that's all been, ancient Egypt. I actually prefer, I find it a little bit easier to engage with the ones I'll get excited about, the ones that were set, kind of during the Victorian period or the Revolutionary War or pirate times. It seems like they've kind of regressed into wanting to do more kind of ancient history. I'm not quite sure why that is, but I'd love to see one set during the Civil War or the First World War or something like that. I don't think they're going to do that, but I just kind of feel like I want a bit more contemporary flavor from Assassin's Creed after spending so much time, set in worlds thousands of years ago.
Yeah, I like it. I think the main decision, for why they went back so far after like Syndicate, especially, which was I think the most modern Assassin's Creed that we had gotten, is because interest in the series had gone down, and I think they just wanted to shake everything up, gameplay, design, what their open worlds were like, and then also just the time periods. And like I think the closer and closer they got to eras with like more modern weapons, I think that was maybe a little bit complicated of like how to design around that and stuff. So I think that was,
no, I understand the reasons why. I remember you telling me before, Barrett, that some of the more contemporary ones are not sold as well, and that obviously is reason enough for Ubisoft to not want to kind of take that risk again. And the ones they're doing are great. I can only speak to kind of my personal taste, and I would like to see something
I fucking feel
a bit more contemporary.
Someone who loves Syndicate, like I would love to see that.
Absolutely. And so Splinter Cell, contemporary Assassin's Creed, and I just want to see, like, I would like to know. And I'm not sure what specifically this is. I think like a whole third game at this point might be too much to ask for. But I would like to know that the Division universe has a future. I would like to believe that hasn't. I know there was some stories about how Division 2 hadn't sold as well as the first game. They've done all this amazing DLC. We've got this Heartland thing that they're working on. But a lot of that team obviously has been shifted over to work on the new Star Wars title. Of all of the Ubisoft franchises that they have, Division's my personal favorite. That's the one that I've spent the most time playing. So I would love to see a Division 3, or at least see some sense of like, we're not just going to let Division die on the vine the way that we did Splinter Cell. We're going to keep that as a priority. I feel like all of my predictions are things that I are more like from my heart than from my head. They're things that I want to see happen, but realistically, I don't think any of them will. Not at least at this E3.
Dang. Well, I'm completely opposite of you two. I mean, of course, I am excited for Far Cry, and I'll talk about that, but I'm skipping cutscenes, and I'm looking for that sweet gameplay. And you know where I'm going to find it, boys? Riders Republic. I got deep into Steep, treading the gnar, and having some fun doing my extreme sports, and I'm really excited for Riders Republic. Me and my friends, we have this circled. We're looking for a firm date, and we are excited to go out there and have some fun with some extreme sports. This is one of those games where you look at it and you're like, I just want amped. I want SSX back. But this team has figured out a way to get that feeling of snowboarding and skiing and add more to it, right? You have the squirrel suits, you have the cliff diving, you have the parachuting around the mountains, and it is really, really cool to see what they've done. And to add on the extra layer of mountain biking is going to be cool, and so much more. I really look forward to seeing what Riders Republic is, and of course to go hands-on with it. I mean, we had that delay and we should have been playing it probably about by now, and I'm really excited to see where we are here with this next update with this. And also one that they haven't spoke much about, but I'm looking forward to is Roller Champions. This was one of their games that they showed off. This was the roller derby game, and I played this at PAX West, and I mean, I played this. We just kept jumping back in the line and playing it all day at that PAX West convention. And I'm asking, where's Riders Roller Champions? Because that's a good game. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what that is as we look into these live service games, you know, the microtransactions and how you can keep that alive with some fun. I think that is right up this alley of something similar to a Knockout City, which is getting a lot of love, a lot of hype right now on Game Pass. Had that free-to-play weekend for 10 days, and the player base is skyrocketed. It's big right now at Knockout City, and the conversation's all about it. I think Roller Champions can do that and do that maybe even better because it's a fun and exciting game. So a lot to look forward to. I don't think I'll get Roller Champions, but I'll at least get Riders Republic. And to jump on you two with the Far Cry, I feel that. I'm looking forward to Far Cry because I played 16 plus hours of Biomutant recently, and I am in the mood for that big open world, scratch off the task list, continue to find outposts and find fun and inventive ways to take down that outpost. Unfortunately for Biomutant, it was very linear. You did very similar stuff at each one. I always loved Far Cry of like, there it is. Good luck. Do whatever you want. And so hopefully I can get a giant alligator, maybe a bear to go in there and destroy the outpost for me. That's all I want. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I also want to know, what the heck is Rainbow Six Quarantine, right? We saw a little bit of that, but there's so much more to show. The new name, the gameplay itself. I mean, Rainbow Six Siege is riding high. Ghost Recon Breakpoint, not so high. And so it's very interesting to see, like, you have these Tom Clancy titles. Where do you go from here? And I really thought Breakpoint would have been the one, Colt, because we liked Ghost Recon Wildlands. Yes. I thought we would have continued that 4-player co-op open world shooter aspect with that. And that unfortunately just wasn't the one. It'll be interesting because I also kind of want Graw back too. I really want Graw, to be honest with you. I'm a big Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter, and I don't think we're going to get that for you, but it'll be interesting to see.
Couple of things. First of all, I had never heard of Roller Champions, but while you were talking about it, I just pulled up a YouTube video of it. This is, I mean, I guess it's been around for a while because this is a video from E3 2 years ago from 2019, but it looks really, really fun. I would play this, and it looks like, I tell you what I take from this is everyone, especially when you consider Knockout City, every major company now wants a piece of this action, right? This kind of tournament play, esports action, whether it be Knockout City. I would put Fall Guys in this category. Splatoon, Fortnite obviously is up there. Like this is like everybody wants that, like their big tournament esports game. Clearly, this is Ubisoft making a play for that. I don't know why we're still waiting on news. 2 years after they showed what looks like a pretty good trailer. I don't know, but it looks like a ton of fun. So that's now on my list. I'm going to start keeping tabs on Roller Champions. The other thing, Mike, just to touch on what you said as well, is first of all, I don't know where they go with Ghost Recon, right? Whatever the most recent one was so poorly received. I don't know if maybe they're thinking they need, it's obviously Ghost Recon's a super popular part of the Tom Clancy universe, right? But that last game did not, come out well. Nobody liked it. I think I remember Ubisoft saying they took a big write down on it because they lost a shitload of money on it. So whether or not they're like, oh no, let's bring this one back in for a while, reset, recalibrate, figure out maybe we take a break, figure out what the future of Ghost Recon is. I don't know, but I tell you what I would like to see, because I'm a big fan of these Tom Clancy universe games. Back in the day, I read all the Tom Clancy, Jack Ryan books. I loved them. I devoured them, seen all the movies, played all the games, loved Rainbow Six all the way back from the original one on the PC. Mm-hmm. Rainbow Six Vegas, still one of the great shooters. As I mentioned, Splinter Cell, Division. Ghost Recon's really the only one that never really took off with me. But almost all the other Clancy game franchises, I really, really like. Here's what I think would be really great. I would love, because it's been a while, I would love to see an all new Tom Clancy game. Like something new. Like we've got the Division, we've got Splinter Cell, we've got Ghost Recon, we've got Rainbow Six. And so they're always growing that Tom. It's a very, very big part of their business now, Ubisoft, is that Tom Clancy name. So they need to keep growing it, right? And if Ghost Recon is a little bit like it's not as strong as it used to be, or the Division, again, you kind of get a sense that maybe it peaked with the first game. Splinter Cell's on the bench. Like, what's going to keep the Tom Clancy? Rainbow Six is really their biggest one right now, as it should be. But it's like, what's going to keep the Tom Clancy name and that part of Ubisoft's business fresh? It's a whole pillar of their business, those Tom Clancy games. I would like to see something new. I don't know what that is, but let's add another spoke to that Tom Clancy wheel of games.
If you said you read a lot of the Tom Clancy books, there's 2 characters they could run a series through and have a lot of success as new Tom Clancy games. They could do either Jack Ryan series where you play as that main character and work your way up through the ranks and what he does, or John Clark, which
Clark's my favorite.
Yeah, because I read Without Remorse like 20 years ago, and the Amazon Prime movie was nothing. They grabbed like 1 page out of the book, but you're looking at characters that Tom Clancy picks that's a person who was in the military and works his way up into the upper echelons of the government to become like an agent or something bigger and better. And you have like that's like tailor made for a video game to have this character that's like a young, rough and military based person that builds his way up through the ranks and then leads his way into Black Ops missions. Like that's the Ubisoft's bread and butter. And they're not even touching Sam Fisher anymore. Well,
the interesting thing about the Tom Clancy name is, of course, even though he's since passed on, that hasn't diminished, his work rate at all. Apparently, I hope that I'm that prolific after I'm dead. It's amazing the amount of new like Tom Clancy stuff that's coming out all the time. He's like the Tupac of cyber thrillers. It's pretty amazing. There are new Tom Clancy books out all the time. Obviously written by someone else, but they put Tom Clancy's name on it. It's always Tom Clancy with the person who actually wrote the whole thing, and very small at the bottom. So they're not going to let the Tom Clancy gravy train end anytime soon. And you're right that he could go back to like the existing works. Rainbow Six obviously was directly based on the novel that came out around the same time as the game. But what we've seen from Ubisoft with Splinter Cell and The Division and Ghost Recon is, I mean, those aren't even directly based on Tom Clancy works. They may have some relationship to maybe The Division, like Tom Clancy at one point like scribbled like something on the back of a napkin. They're like, great, here we go. This is all that we need to kind of germinate the next, multi-million-dollar franchise. But at this point, Tom Clancy, it's just a brand, right? It means a certain kind of gameplay. It's going to be high tech. It's going to be kind of military intelligence. It might be kind of on the cutting edge of the future. It's going to be espionage and intrigue and all that kind of stuff. Lots of cool gadgets. It's almost like you think of Tom Clancy now. You almost think like the same way you think James Bond. Like you don't know what it's going to be, but you know the kind of stuff you're going to get. So it's a very mature brand right now in terms of the public awareness. They can pretty much do whatever they want with it. I thought, for example, The Division was a great, it felt to me like, even though he didn't write the book, it felt like the kind of book that Tom Clancy might have written. It felt true to the kind of the Clancy spirit. Big focus on guns and gadgets and cool tech and stuff like that. Lots of tough guys, doing scary things in kind of remote, dark corners of the world. Like that's the kind of shit that we love. And I just want to know, like, why I'm sure they've got plans. Like the Ubisoft's plan for the Tom Clancy franchise is not just let's just keep iterating on the series that we have. It's like, what's the next one? As the old ones fade away, you got to replace them with something new. That would be the thing that would really make me sit up and pay attention is, Tom Clancy's something we've never heard of before. That would be cool. I want to know what that is.
Yeah. When you talk about The Division, they took the whole thing about the virus on the banknotes was basically a call from the Rainbow Six book, which I read like 20 years ago, where they put this virus out to kill a bunch of people in the population. They put it through a ventilation system. They just changed it to the paper money, and that's what brought down society. And that was like the whole preface of the Rainbow Six book. So like they've pulled these ideas, but to leave John Clark or Jack Ryan like untouched in a video game is you could possibly be getting into kind of licensing issues there. It's like, well, you have the rights to use the Tom Clancy. Tom Clancy's estate might well say, well, you have the rights to use the Tom Clancy name, but if you want to put Jack Ryan or John Clark in one of these stories, that's going to cost you extra. That might be that actually might inform Ubisoft's whole approach to the Tom Clancy brand, which is, we have the name brand that's valuable to us. It's an established thing now. It's like Madden.
like Clancy, like Tiger Woods, like these are all established name brands in video games. It may well be that Ubisoft don't feel like they need to kind of do actual, real kind of Clancy adaptations of the key characters that everybody knows. Because the real star of the show is just the Clancy name itself, right? Because again, that informs you basically kind of know what kind of game you're going to be getting. And I think Ubisoft has got a very kind of mature business model there with the Clancy games, and I just want to know what the future is. And I'm not thinking in terms of what's the next Splinter Cell, what's the next Ghost Recon. Like again, what's the next thing we don't even know about yet? That's because they've got something. It's just a question of are we going to see something this E3? I'm putting a hopeful yes on it.
Hopeful yes. I like that attitude. Keep that optimism, because of course now it's time to talk about the future of our favorite stuff, Xbox and Bethesda. But we'll hear about that right after this word from our sponsor.
This podcast is brought to you by HVMN. Sitting at your desk and reaching for that sugar-loaded latte or that sweet and quote-unquote healthy snack bar that's not so secretly loaded with sugar? Take a small step to improve your day and avoid the sugar crash by mixing in some keto powder to your coffee or trying an HVMN keto food bar. Trying to lose weight, sleep a little better, and not feel so groggy during the day? Health via Modern Nutrition can help you do all of those things with a few small keto-friendly choices to improve your metabolism throughout the day. The average American consumes around 17 teaspoons of added sugars each day. If what you put into your body today is the foundation for who you become tomorrow, start reaching your goals by being aware of and cutting out unnecessary sugars from your diet. HVMN is obsessed with helping you reach those goals through modern nutrition, powering your metabolism with less sugar and more ketones. How do we know so much about this? The one, the only, Big Kev dog, Kevin Coelho, has been enjoying these bars. He's been talking about them on streams when we talk about this ad. He enjoys them. They're tasty. He likes them. So why not be like Kevin? HVMN is a nutrition company that takes the mastery out of counting macros. They're results-driven, modern nutrition for modern lifestyles with less sugar than competitors. Their products provide lifestyle and habit upgrades that help their customers become healthier and better versions of themselves. By using real, organic ingredients, HVMN has made the keto lifestyle and a whole bunch of improvements easy with healthy and low-sugar options that are great for you and deliciously satisfying. HVMN offers single items like MCT oil, keto food bars, and keto collagen powder, or you can grab a kit that includes all the essentials at an everyday discount. Right now, HVMN is offering our listeners an additional 10% off your first order when you go to hvmn.com/kindafunny. Embrace healthy living today. Go to hvmn.com/kindafunny for 10% off your first order. That's hvmn.com/kindafunny for 10% off.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Everybody in the comments, I know you're going to be like, Mike, that was a lot of Ubisoft talk. What the heck? We're here for Xbox and Bethesda. I know we are, but we got to take some time. We got to have some fun with Colt. We got to have some fun with Gary. We talked about E3 last week. We're talking about E3 this week. We're going to talk about E3 next week. It's a lot of E3 talk. And of course, we'll get into all that. But now it's time to just have some fun predictions. You know what I mean? There's things that we know we're going to be there. There's things we can expect. But I want to come to you two and just be like, hey, let's have some fun. Let's get wild. Let's get weird. Let's talk about what these two teams could come together and wow us with here at E3 with a 90-minute show on Sunday, early in the morning, little 10 a.m. showcase. Of course, I've asked you guys to bring 5 predictions, 3 predictions, couple predictions. We're going to talk about it, and let's just have some fun. So, Colt, you are the guest. I want to go nice and slow. Everybody say a prediction. We'll talk about it. We'll break it down. I'll go to you first. I'll go around the table to Gary and then to Barrett, then myself, and just say, hey, what do you think is going to happen at this showcase, Colt?
Oh, I mean, I feel like I know what's going to happen at most of the show. So to ask me about predictions, I have to think of something that I can fabricate out of thin air. But I'm not quite sure what the Coalition is doing right now. I mean, we can 50-50 guess. And the Coalition is one of the top talents at Xbox Game Studios. They make the most beautiful looking games in the business right there. They're top tier. And if they're not working on Gears 6 to close out this new trilogy, my wild prediction would be that they're creating something in the Star Wars universe to add to the table of some really great recent Star Wars games. I think they could do something amazing with Star Wars, and it's a wild prediction, but if they came out and just teased that they were putting their touch on Star Wars, since I think Star Wars video games are faring a little bit better than movies of Star Wars right now, in my opinion, that would be my wild prediction, is the Coalition, Star Wars.
Star Wars would be really fun universe to explore with that team. You know, Colt, me and my friends, we really put Gears of War Hivebusters up on the pedestal, right? We really hold that near and dear to our hearts, and we feel like that didn't get as much love as it should have. I think in the tight Xbox community, people that knew and people that tried it really enjoyed what felt like a blockbuster cinematic movie for about 2.5 hours if you played it with your friends, right? And so it's just like, man, where do we go from here with this team? And I think Star Wars would be a really fun universe to see what they could create as they move into the next gen engine, as they use this next gen tech. I mean, that game was beautiful. And so I like the Star Wars one. I like that pull. Could we maybe see a Mandalorian, or is that not up their alley? Do you think something different? What, a Bad Batch maybe? Like, what would you really want to see in this Star Wars universe out of this team when you look at what they've done and what they could do?
Well, I mean, Coalition is probably, they're one of the best third-person shooter mechanic teams in the business. So if they got charge of a Mandalorian game, it would blow the world in 3 pieces. It would be incredible. And we can just imagine what the Coalition would do with that Mandalorian look from that new show, and the, you know, cover shooting, and maybe it doesn't have to be cover shooting, but run and gun, and like, oh my gosh, like, it could be totally incredible. And I have kind of teased that in a previous video like a month ago. Like, there was some whispers or some rumors or people writing something down on a napkin that Mandalorian was being shopped around as an IP for someone to use, and maybe it was Xbox Studios. I don't know, but that's a wild guess and a dream, but I'd love that.
Would you like, as you say, round out the trilogy, right? We look at Gears 4 and 5, and we'll look at that story of Cade Diaz, and now we kind of start to hit the conclusion. Would you like to see them round that out and finish it with a hard 6? Would you like to see them do an offshoot like we did with Hivebusters and bring in a whole new world of characters, a whole new setting? What would be your dream on this next Gears of War as we continue that saga?
I'm nervous for an offshoot because those don't fare very well on most platforms. Like, the main games usually are received the best. Although I'm a huge fan of ODST, and I really like Gears Judgment, but knowing what I've seen them do with Gears 5, because they really elevated it with Gears 5, and then Hivebusters was amazing for about 3 hours. I think they can go ahead and just put all of that plus some new things. I think they're teasing with the open world with the last game, so I think they would open up that map a little more and add more combat in the open world. There's some strange things with that skiv that you're driving around. Dell would get up on this turret that doesn't do anything. Like, it doesn't even take pictures. And I'm like, there's something missing here. I think they meant to have a gun on here, and they had to scrap it. Because you're playing the game in co-op, it just makes no sense. And so I think they have some ideas for the open world to let you be in a corridor world and at an open area and do more. So they could go ahead and spend this next 3 or 4 years and bring Gears 6 out as their next game. But they can also just shelve it for a little bit and pour more into it down the road if they make a new game. And that's kind of been the rumor that they might be working on something different besides Gears right now, but I'm not sure.
Gary, would you be stunned if Coalition put a hard stop for quite some time, put that franchise on ice as one of the major tent poles? Would you be kind of shook if they came out with a new IP and was like, hey, this is the next one over at Gears of War?
Maybe a little bit, because I mean, Coalition at this point is probably associated with one series of games, as much as any other. When you think 343, you think, well, Halo, that company was basically built to make Halo games, right? When Bungie left, the Coalition, and even the name of the developer is from from COG, right? The Coalition in the game. It's like that. The Coalition was built to build Gears of War games. So for them to be redirected somewhere else, yeah, that would definitely be a surprise. And and then who makes these games? If they're being redirected somewhere else, to do a whole other, create like a new IP or something, I don't think someone else is going to step in and make the next Gears game in their stead. Like that was the whole reason why the coalition exists. So the only reason that would happen is if Microsoft, for whatever reason, has looked at the performance of the last Gears game and said, maybe let's let it rest for a bit. Maybe it's not the smartest play to kind of bring this back right now, but like let it go away for a bit. Let gamers start to miss it. Oh man, why hasn't been a new Gears game in a while? And then you bring it back when maybe the appetite is there. Again, I have no idea. Gears 5 may have been a massive success for all I know. I don't know. I just get the impression that that's the only reason why they would make a change like that, is if they kind of felt like the smart thing to do would be to leave the franchise for a little bit. So no, I'd be very surprised to see that.
That team and that franchise are just like, it's bread and butter to me, Colt. You know what I mean? It would be like, I want to say I'd be shocked if 343 were like, you know what, maybe our next game isn't Halo. I'd be kind of shocked, but I'd be like, oh, okay, maybe the track record, maybe I kind of understand. If Coalition came out and was like, yo, we're hard putting a stop to Gears of War, I would be like, it would be a dagger to my heart. I'd be like, oh my God, I'm really stunned. I couldn't believe that. So it is exciting to see. And of course, that team did come out a couple weeks ago and let us know their plans for E3, what to expect, and as they move on to the next gen. I like that, Colt. And Star Wars, man, everybody wants a piece of Star Wars. Everybody wants a piece of it right now, and I like that. Gary Whitta, what are you expecting? What are you predicting? What are you hoping for this E3?
Like predictions, they're so hard to do. I can only tell you what I would like to see, that I also think there is a reasonable chance we might see it. I'd like to see some Fable gameplay.
Ooh,
that's probably my most of the big Xbox exclusive first party titles that they have. That's probably the one that excites me the most. I love the original Fable games, and as you know, what little they showed of it, it really just was that cinematic. You can obviously imagine what it's probably going to look like. We know what the Fable games look like. They're not going to reinvent the wheel, but I want to see what it looks like, again, running on next gen hardware. The big excitement about this year is that all of these games now have much more powerful hardware to run on than they have had, for the last several years. So I want to see what the next gen Fable game looks like. I don't think we'll see. I think we'll learn a little bit more about what Starfield is, but I don't think it will be much. And then beyond that, I would like a new Wolfenstein. Yeah, I think the Star Wars idea. I think the Star Wars idea is a bit far fetched, because my feeling is this: if Microsoft, now that we know that Starfield is going to be Xbox exclusive, which I think, the smart money was always kind of on that. But now that we know that for sure, I think it's pretty clear that all of these studios that Microsoft has bought and has paid so much money for, it's in their best interest now, I think, to develop games that are exclusive to that platform, right? They want to build that portfolio of first party titles. Like Starfield is going to be that. And obviously the pre-existing ones, Wolfenstein, Doom, I think will all be Xbox exclusive titles on console going forward. But any new things that they bring out, I think obviously they're also going to be engineered to be exclusive to Xbox. Otherwise, why bother buying the studio in the first place? The issue with Star Wars, of course, is I think it would be very, very difficult to convince Lucasfilm to let them make a Star Wars game exclusive to one platform. I think,
and not only that, they're already doing indies, so like it would also be hard to convince Lucasfilm to give them two IPs at the same time.
I still think it would be interesting if indie got announced as an Xbox exclusive. I don't think it would, but why not? Fuck it. If Sony can have, if PlayStation can have Spider-Man, why can't we have Indiana Jones? I don't think it'll happen.
I honestly don't think Indiana Jones is that relevant of an IP today. Let me be clear, of today, with like kids today. Not that indie was never a huge IP and stuff like that, that I think you could kind of do something like that, and it's not going to like make gamers upset that indie is like only on Xbox.
No, I think you're probably right. I mean, there is a new Indiana Jones movie coming, and it's going to get refreshed. But you're Barrett. As much as it pains me to admit it, like Indiana Jones is something that is probably not on the radar of today's Zoomers or whatever the fuck we're calling them this week. It's. Well, They want the new things, not the things that are around when their dads were, like I grew up watching Indiana Jones. My kid probably thinks that makes it less cool, not more cool. When she just go, oh yeah, this was around when I was growing up. She's like, why would I want that? I don't want your dirty hand-me-downs. I want the new shit that's just for me. So I'm not expecting anything. I think on the Indiana Jones side, I don't think we'll see any gameplay. Maybe we'll get like a bit more of a cinematic trailer or something just to kind of whet the appetite. But my big predictions in terms of things that I want to see, just to recap, I would like to see a new Wolfenstein. Maybe we'll see a little bit of Doom. I think we'll see a little bit of Starfield. I want to see some Fable. Hey, are we doing all the predictions right now for Microsoft Bethesda?
I wanted you to do one at a time, but yeah, you can. I mean, Gary,
okay.
hit me with it, Gary.
Bashing them all out.
Because guess what? I'm gonna reel you back in. I'm gonna ask you questions about each.
Yeah, put a pin in any of these that interest you.
Why don't we let's stop at Fable really quick. Let's talk about Fable because it's a good talking point that everybody online has been having, and if you're part of the Xbox ecosystem, you know where I'm gonna go with this, right? Fable, one of the big ones. We're gonna talk about a number of the big ones, right? But it's also one that we know might be in the future, right? And as Gary said, I'm looking for that gameplay, but I can imagine the gameplay. I'll pose the question to you, Gary, and then go to Colt of, if they gave you another CGI trailer of Fable, would you be pleased with that kind of teaser? Would you say, no, I need the gameplay like everybody on the internet and my Twitter mentions? Where do you fall on Fable more particularly? And then we'll open it up to the broader sense of these CGI trailers filling the gap and continuing to build it, but also not show it off.
I was thinking about that the other day. It was in relation to another game. I can't remember which, but it's relevant to this conversation as well. My feeling is this, and it's not like a rule or anything. It's just how I feel about it. I think you only get to do a non-gameplay cinematic only teaser trailer once. You get to play that card once. The second trailer, you got to show me something. Otherwise, you're starting to think, well, when are we actually going to see something, Like with Starfield, obviously, the one cinematic trailer they showed, it was nothing, right? It was barely a logo. That maybe you can make an argument with the next one. Maybe they do like a big, elaborate CG trailer, but they still don't show you any gameplay. I think with Fable, which was, it was a big, what is the next cinematic trailer going to be? Like, these are video games. At some point, we want to see the gameplay. And I feel like for a lot of the games that they've already announced, what is the rare one? Everwild? Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Fable, Starfield, all of the games that they've announced but only shown cinematics for, if they're going to bring them up again this time, which presumably they are, these are all big games that we're expecting to see, I think you have to show a bit of gameplay.
See, I don't know if anybody is expecting to see Fable this year. I really I think it's too early. I think it's way too early. And like, isn't it? What's the force that people are saying that's coming out this or is going to be announced? Isn't it Horizon 5 or is it the
Forza Horizon 5?
Yeah, and if that's coming out, like that's going to be Playground. That's going to be Playground Games like next big push is Forza Horizon 5 before we hear anything about Fable. Yeah, I'm kind of the opposite of you, Gary. It was like I doubt we see anything Fable, and I think we get a good chunk of Starfield.
Interesting. I think it's weird to kind of announce that you're doing a game, show a cinematic trailer, and then go dark for like over a year, which is what we would be talking about. I mean, that's not unheard of.
Games industry, though.
No, no, you're right. Games industry, you're right. They do it all the time. Again, a lot of these. Again, I'll say again, a lot of these predictions are less what I think is going to happen and more like what I want to see happen. I want to see Fable. Yeah. All my hopes and dreams are going to get dashed, basically.
Yeah, we know a lot. We know a lot of what the foundation of the show will be, and so you don't have to come at me with, a picture perfect here. I do want your hope and dreams, and I know Fable is near and dear to your heart, and it is an interesting conversation of like Colt, like the CGI. That's a big conversation in the social media space, and especially in the Xbox world of like showing these games and then just year after year of CGI trailers. Where do you fall on this right now for yourself, Colt?
Well, I mean, I hear it all the time. Where's the gameplay? Tell Xbox to show us the gameplay. And I agree. I was told that Xbox doesn't like to show gameplay until the year of the release of their game. Okay. And I don't blame them for that because showing a game over a year before it's ready, it's not going to be
you run into correct... the cyberpunk situation.
Yeah, and Xbox has been doing that for a while. They didn't really show us gameplay of Gears 5 until the year of. And I don't like that. I'd like to see stuff earlier. And expect Fable to come out in 2023, so we won't see it until next E3. So here's the problem. Like, they did show a pretty full breadth cinematic of Fable. They flew around the world. They showed you a lot of the different like feel of the game, and they had some really highly detailed character models in that. And so you're like, wow, what's this game going to look like? I think at this point, Xbox needs to continue to keep a goodwill and faith for their fans. Maybe that means they do throw in one more cinematic or environmental fly through. Like maybe Playground Games should have. They have 2 studios, by the way. You guys probably know that, but they have in St. Albans House studio that is only working on Fable. If that team put together a fly through of the different environments and the different seasons of Fable, and then just left that at this E3, that would be a wild prediction for me. I don't think they're going to do that. So you could see this is all in engine. This is the developed environment of Fable that you're going to be living in and building your character. Make it a 2-minute trailer with music and fly through and show you what the game is going to feel like with the sun and the skies and the weather, and then say Fable, coming soon. I think they at least need to do something like that, but I don't think they will because it's been a really rough year for these studios that are just kicking off their games.
Yeah, when you talk about showing gameplay early, I think one of the reasons why that happens less often, and I think you see Ubisoft used to get into trouble with this, and I think for that reason they and a lot of other companies have started to move away from it, is, they'll show this game at E3. We saw this with Anthem, we've seen it with The Division, we've seen it with a bunch of different games. There's a whole other crunch cycle that we don't really talk about in video game development. Obviously, game development studios crunch when they get towards release, but they also crunch in the months leading up to big conventions like E3 because they're trying to get a demo ready. And that's a whole milestone, a whole project all by itself. And a lot of, because these demos have to look good, right? The whole point is to get people excited. You can't just throw up, whatever you currently have. That's what happened with Halo Infinite, and you see how that went, right? So often what's being built for these E3 type presentations is not actually representative of the current build of the game, but is actually some kind of like, this is where we hope we can get it by release type mock-up that's usually running on a high-end PC. You'll always see it at the bottom of the screen. This is running on a high-end PC, not reflective of, current console hardware or whatever. And it's really just kind of like we hope it'll look this good when it comes out. This is what we want it to look like. But then what happens after the fact is these YouTubers come along and they put together these split-screen videos of, here's what the game looked like when Ubisoft showed it at E3, and here's what they shipped, and they do not look the same. It's like, man, you can see all the compromises that were made. So I think for that's come around and bitten these companies so many times now. We've all developed a really healthy, again, Cyberpunk being the most recent example. We've all developed, I think, a very healthy skepticism. When we look at these demo builds that are always running on high-end PC, dev kits, you're kind of like, yeah, but is it really going to look like that though? So maybe now they are kind of pulling back from that and waiting to show gameplay until they have something that they're confident is actually representative of what they're going to ship.
Yep.
That's the conversation, is the CGI trailers and gameplay. I went to Twitter yesterday before Colt came on today, and I said, yo, give me your predictions, give me your hopes and dreams. And I was stunned. It was a solid 75% plus that just yelled gameplay. I don't want CGI trailers. I want gameplay, Mike. And I was blown away because I do agree, right? We want to see what the game is. We want to know what that gameplay is going to look like. And I also do enjoy a good CGI trailer, right? I don't know how many times I could look at it over the years, but, I wouldn't be mad, like you said, Colt, if you did give me another Fable and you put 2023 or beyond at the end of it, I'd be like, okay, well, that means I'll get gameplay the next year, the year afterwards. But at least I stay up to date. That's always a big one I talk about here on the Xbox or the Xcast is I really enjoy those dev diaries. I want to know what the team is doing. I want to make those connections. And I love those hardworking men and women that make these games that I love. And I really enjoy them being like, hey, we're over here at Playground. This is what we're working on. This is what it looks like right now. We're like, here's a CGI trailer, and I know we can't give you gameplay, but we're here. And then at least you make that connection. Perfect example, Colt, of you on the YouTube, right? It's like me as a fan now, it's like I see Colt's face, and I'm like, yeah, I believe in you. I like that. We got this connection going. And so, I'm not a huge like, hey, I don't like the CGI trailers, but I understand where everybody comes from, and especially if it's going to release that year, you want to know what's going on. But it was a huge debate. It is the huge one, and I think all eyes, like we talked about, Halo's going to be on a gigantic microscope. The whole Xbox and Bethesda E3 showcase will be what is up with the CGI and what's up with the gameplay. Where do we fall on that?
Yeah, and
I to talk about.
I think let's go into the assumption that Hellblade, Fable, Perfect Dark, and State of Decay 3 aren't going to be present at all, right? And that's really, really possible. I think if you skip an entire year and you don't bring those games up, of course we know those games are there, but you can't help but feel like, are those games okay? Are those games, are they going to cancel them? Some people think that, right? But I think it's, at this point, your games are a little ways out. I think it's I'm going against Gary here, but I think it's okay to do one more like little snack before you move forward.
No, you know what? You're right. I'm actually coming around on it. I think I was a little too strict the first time. I think you can treat it like a movie trailer, right? You can do your little Starfield logo reveal, or the ones that they do with Call of Duty, where it's just like a little bit of radio static, or it's just like, oh, it's coming, and it's super exciting. And then maybe do like the full blown cinematic trailer. But then I'm cutting you off after that. After that, we got to see gameplay. If you do 3 cinematic trailers in a row, come on, we got to see some video games.
Colt, you said it well as well. It's like we always talk amongst ourselves who are like, we're really ingrained in it. And the people that are watching this and listening to it and are on your show or watching everybody else's content, you're ingrained in it. So like, it's a little different when we have the general public and like my friend Steve, who has a wife and 2 kids and loves Xbox, but he's not into it, right? He sees State of Decay or he sees Fable. And then the next year you go radio silent. And he looks at me and goes, well, where is that cool zombie one where she shot the zombie deer? Or like, hey, where's Fable at, Mike? And it's like you said, Colt, now he's thinking in his mind, I guess that was like non-existent or something like that. I don't know what happened there, Mike.
8 years or 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. And so I do like to like, hey, let's still continue that conversation. Let's not just drop that and go, especially for the general public who they're not going to your website. They're not listening to Major Nelson's podcast every single week. They come here for this big one. And then they're waiting for the holiday push of marketing, and that's how they stay in the know of this.
Yeah, it's tough because, like you said, we're ingrained, so we're talking to the community, and we're part of the community, and we're part of the loud voices that are demanding things. And if you just keep showing cinematics, like, because I'm there with Gary. If you show another cinematic, then since I'm so vocal on social media and on my YouTube videos, like people are gonna like, what? Where's the gameplay? Are you just gonna keep stringing us along? And I totally get that. I feel like you just can't win when your games are a couple of years out. But then again, I look at what PlayStation does. They showed the concept of Ghost of Tsushima long before the game came out. And as a fan of gaming, you're like, that Japanese samurai-like game looks really cool, and that's coming to my platform, and I'm excited about it. And so all you do is you just wait. Or are they going to show something? When are they going to show the next thing? When's gameplay going to be? I can't wait for that game. But the problem with Xbox is they've had this lull of 4 or 5 years where they didn't have a lot of first-party content, and the few things they worked with other studios they don't own didn't really hit very well. So Xbox fans need to see proof of concept at this point to stay excited and to be able to justify their excitement, as weird as that sounds. I'm sure you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah, I vibe with that. I mean, I'm sure everybody listening vibes with that too. Barrett, I'll kick it to you for a fun one. Barrett, you produce all the shows. You are my guy on the ones and twos. Just wanted to see, give me a prediction. Give me something fun,
I'm your man in the streets. Ear close to the ground. One that I'm gonna throw out there, and this, like I had tweeted out some like just overall predictions for E3 last week. One that I'll throw out there for the show is that this is kind of a two-parter. Because we've been, talking about Psychonauts 2 the last couple of weeks, right? And we've been getting really excited. I played through the first Psychonauts for the first time, finally, after trying so many times. I finally beat it last week, and it's I loved it, and I'm kicking myself for not playing it earlier. We've been really excited with Psychonauts 2 being on the cover of Game Informer, people maybe not on purpose being able to preload it, all this stuff, and I feel like the sentiment for the last couple of weeks is like Psychonauts 2 is going to shadow drop, and it's going to drop the day of the conference. It's going to be like and you can play it today kind of thing. I'm rolling back on that. I don't think Psychonauts 2 is the shadow drop. I do believe, however, it will be out in June. I think they want to give it a couple weeks of like major marketing push to really sell it, because since Psychonauts isn't like, I wouldn't say the biggest of franchises, so I think they want to kind of like have its like review roundup and stuff like that, instead of like releasing it to everybody right away, just so like people can, if it gets great reviews, right, it gets it like maybe 9s or something like that, right? People who weren't really into Psychonauts could be like, oh, like a great Xbox exclusive, and I can play it on Game Pass, hell yeah. So that's kind of like part one, but what I do think will shadow drop at E3, and I'm feeling it in my bones right now, Mike, of you can play this today because it's been so quiet, we've barely heard a peep. Cuphead, the delicious last course.
Oh,
coming today. That's the Gatorade E3 get hype moment that I want. That Cuphead DLC is finally coming out today.
Barrett, I love that. I stayed up all last night watching multiple different E3 shows over the years, and that was one I put on my wild prediction as well. Is we're going on, I believe, 4 years, maybe 3. I forget
3 since we last majorly heard about it at a show.
Yeah, we're gonna complete that, and it's pretty wild to think about. And man, that studio was so talented. Those guys that created that game, and I like that, Barrett. I think that would be wild. Shadow dropping it would probably rock my world, Barrett. Like, that would be blowing up the internet type rock my world. I like that.
Realistically, they'll probably give it a specific date, but I think that like I'm feeling a shadow drop of like, you can, Cuphead fans who have been waiting for this for years, you can finally play this today. So there you go.
Colt, you're a Cuphead guy. What do you think about that crazy prediction right there?
That's like out of left field. I haven't talked about Cuphead in a long time. That'll be really cool. As an illustrator, playing that game makes me super jealous and envious. There's really great drawings there. It's amazing. Really amazing.
I had to buy the art book right away. Is right, Colt. It's just so good, and it's so much fun. And I had Barrett and Tim recently do a Cuphead race through the first island, and to see the skills that Barrett and Tim have in that video game are absolutely astonishing, because I have no skills in that, and I'm constantly dying and banging my controller against the wall. And I really hope that we get that, and that's exciting, Barrett. I like that one. I'll keep it moving with 2. I'm gonna do it a little 2-parter right now, but I want to pose a question / my fun prediction. And of course, we all know Papa Phil, my guy Phil Spencer, loves to rock his jacket and graphic tee combo, right? He's going to come out. He's going to look good. He had the Psychonauts one on,
Pop jacket.
Exactly.
Yep.
He's always got something good, And so this year, I think, is going to be special. And I got a couple I'm going to throw on the graphic tee right now, and we'll see which one sticks for me. But, of course, I think maybe a Banjo logo, maybe for Paris. Always got to bring it up for him.
Right. Well, it was good. Thanks for having me on the show.
I was going to bring it up. Someone's going to do it.
That? We got to do it for Paris. He loves that. Maybe a Ludens logo for Kojima would be a big tease right there. And then also, if I was really stretching, I actually put the Sam Fisher 3 lights for the night vision goggles and put Splinter Cell would be a really special one. But I want to ask you guys, do you think he comes out with the jacket graphic tee combo, and do we see something special underneath? He's done it. He's got a track record for it. And Colt, there's no shelves behind him. Hopefully, you never know. We're working from home. He could do the shelves look, but I have to assume he will be on a stage that they've created. So like, he has to be coming out in this. Do you have a prediction for maybe what t-shirt he could be wearing and what tees we could see?
I don't have a wild prediction. I think he might wear something Bethesda related. Continue to show that partnership.
That's That's
but like your ideas are great. Like for him to, his shirts have mainly been what they're really supporting. Like he's done like the gamer outreach and different things like that at different events. So my guess is Bethesda related.
Bethesda related. Gary?
Omen symbol.
Omen.
The Omen symbol.
Oh, okay.
Some icon that will end up being like, maybe it's like the Gothic O.
I like that. I like that. Gary, what do you think? You're a man of t-shirts. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I'm a dedicated follower of fashion, as you know, Mike.
Shirts.
I think I've been wearing these sweatpants for 3 days in a row now. Listen, we've come a long way from the heady days of Peter Moore and the Halo tattoo and that whole business, so cool. And Jay Allard and his "How do you do, fellow kids" makeover that they gave him with the blazer and the hoodie and that whole combo. I don't know. It's my biggest thing is I really feel like you lose a lot of energy when you don't actually have that big arena crowd. They typically have, Microsoft has always done a great job at these events. They light up that whole, whatever that, the big arena, wherever it is, they light it up like you're the inside of a Borg cube. Like it's all green and glowing and high tech and cool. And you feed off the energy. Even though you're not there, you kind of feel like you're part of that big crowd and you feel the excitement. Ever since we've gone to these kind of virtual events, it's a little bit harder to kind of generate. There is the excitement of the games themselves, of course, and that's the main attraction. But part of what we've typically loved about these big events is that feeling of being part of a big in-person event. And obviously, we're still struggling to get back to a point where we can really have those. Maybe next year, but this year, obviously, we're still looking at something that is much more kind of tamped down, virtualized, a little more sedate. Like, how do you convey that excitement? How do you make the event itself exciting, as opposed to the games are going to be exciting, but how do you make the event for like something like, man, I'm really glad I tuned into that. But beyond that, I don't really worry. Like for me, maybe I'm just an old fogey, but for me, like the least exciting stuff about these events are the gimmicks when like Keanu comes out or some guy brings his dog out onto the stage and people go, oh, how wonderful, he brought his dog. And listen, I love
Gary.
dogs, but I'm here to see the games.
Dog was adorable as hell. You need Gary.
Need to reel it back.
But what has that done for me lately? I need games to play. Like it's a nice moment there, and I get it. They're there to create fun and excitement, and it's all part of it. But like, I kind of feel like that's almost a little bit. It's so secondary to what we're really there to see. I don't want to be a stick in the mud about this kind of stuff, but like, hey, listen, they brought Keanu out. The game still fucking sucked. So
hey, you know what? We still have that moment.
What good did that do them in the long run?
You know what? We've moved on from Cyberpunk 2077, but you know what we will always have is the "you're breathtaking" meme, Gary, and it's moments like those that will live in our lives.
And the people that get paid a lot of money to run the marketing departments for these big companies know that. And that breathtaking, the fact that meme blew up was worth, you can't buy that kind of marketing. You can't buy that kind of advertising publicity. So that worked out very well for them. I'm just saying, like, enjoy that in the moment, but just remember it has no bearing at all on the game you're going to get to play. In fact, it almost is a little bit smoke and mirrors. Looking back on that now, you could even make the argument that CD Projekt Red were like, what are we going to do here? Well, if we get Keanu out, people will get excited about that, and they won't realize that this build that we're running is like put together out of fucking unicorns and rainbows, because this ain't what we're able to ship. Ooh. Oh,
Gary, you're so spicy now. I like it. I'm from a graphic t-shirt and jacket combo. You got so spicy, Gary.
This is what happens, Mike, when I don't get to play video games all week. I get very salty about the subject of video games.
I thought you'd be like, oh, Mike, I'm not big into this, but maybe I'll wear a t-shirt with this. Maybe it'll just be a North Face t-shirt. No, we're just blazing at everybody today, Gary. I like it. Okay, let's keep that fire going. Oh my God, let's keep it rolling. Of course, Jesus. Colt said Omen, and that made me think of some projects that we've heard through the grapevine, some rumors, Colt. And you're my guy. You're my insider. You're my big influencer. I always look to you in the squad of like, what the heck are they talking about? So Colt, I got to know, what are these rumors and what do you think of a couple of them? Of course, Project Typhoon, Project Dragon, Project Omen. What do you think some of these are? If you had to give me pin one of them, is there one that you really keep in your eye and you're like, Mike and all the best friends out there, this is something that like I like the sound of, or this is something I could see it becoming reality?
Well, so I don't get any articles written about me about trying to be an insider, I guess. I'll just say, here's what I think they could be. It sounds like Project Typhoon is like a co-op game. I'm not sure about that game, if it's going to be something. I don't, Gary and I were talking about Ghost Recon Breakpoint, like playing as a generic one of 4 characters and going in co-op and kind of making your own fun with friends. That could be a good experience. But I really want Xbox to bring stuff to get games made that like have like a strong character and a strong franchise to hold on to. So I'm not sure if Project Typhoon is that sort of thing, or if it's a game that would keep people coming back to play online with friends or matchmaking. So as far as this Omen game, I guess it could possibly be a like Dishonored and Prey's version of a stealth and action vampire game, which a lot of people are like, vampires. Like, how much do I really like vampires? But what has Arcane ever done that people didn't absolutely love? I always go back to that. Like, Arcane has made incredible games. So if Arcane says we want to make a vampire game, I guess we should say, well, let's take a look. They have a pretty good track record. So as far as Project Dragon, is that what we're calling? I think Project Dragon. I guess it's some kind of another fantasy RPG which Xbox has already a few of them in the works. Like Elder Scrolls is going to be built soon. Avowed is coming out soon. Fable's coming out soon. Just add another fantasy RPG or a fantasy action adventure game. I hope that's really cool too. But these all seem like brand new forays for these supposed teams that we don't know who they are.
So exciting, so mysterious. I love that, and I love keeping up with it. It is very exciting, and you actually brought up a good one there, Colt. You bring up like the overlap, right? We have a lot of studios, a lot of games who kind of are fitting some themes well here that kind of seem to line up, and now we turn our eyes to Obsidian, and we know that is a workhorse studio. They love putting out games, and I know, Colt, you really like this one, and I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we'll see Grounded 1.0 here at the end of the show, maybe. But the word around town is maybe we'll see Outer Worlds 2. And I guess my question to you is, Colt, is like, where would that fall when we know that we have Starfield close to this, right? And you brought up, well,
I know.
How do we as an Xbox team not take away the spotlight and the shine, but also have these games that are so, I don't want to say similar, but they're in the same theme here and still get their love and due, because you have Outer Worlds, you have Starfield, now you have Avowed, you have Elder Scrolls, you have Fable. We have a lot of games that are matching up, and how close will they be without losing the luster and the shine?
Yeah, that interesting that they have this group of fantasy RPGs, then they have the sci-fi games, and then like those could all come out within 2 years. Like if you take a 2-year calendar, you can like throw all those games in there. And I don't know. Part of me thinks that Xbox doesn't really think of it that way. They think we just want to create as many opportunities for people to play games on Game Pass and provide all of these amazing experiences. And if we throw them in really close together, it doesn't matter because they're in Game Pass. Everyone will be able to get access to them and not have to pick or choose when they can shell out $60 or $70 for a game. And that really changes the industry. And it's something that a lot of people don't realize it, but Xbox is leading the market that way, to where you don't have to choose and schedule when you can purchase a game and when you can play it, because if it's in Game Pass and it's a deal that Xbox has made, it'll stay there. If they create the game, stay there forever. So they don't have to worry about bringing a game out and hoping that people can make it possible in their life to spend that $60 or $70 during that time. And if you want to play 2 sci-fi games back to back, they don't care. You don't have to compete with each other, I suppose. Do you agree with that? This is kind of a take I haven't really given much thought to.
I'm smiling because I think you said it really well, and I was just going to look at Gary and be like, should I bust out my pom-poms? Because, here at the Xcast, we're constantly called Game Pass cheerleaders, Xbox, all that jazz. But, you said it so well of like, hey, this is going to be on that service. And if you're not ready for that, no big deal. You're not spending $60. You're not missing it. It's going to be there on that service. And I totally agree. And I am interested to see what this team does, right? Because that overlap might be real. Maybe they do schedule it so well that we never see that or feel that. Or maybe we do say, man, I just played a high fantasy RPG. I don't think I'm ready for another one, right? And it will be fun to see that marketing push, what that feels like. But I think you said it best of like, no matter what happens, it's going to be there for me. And when I want to make time, or I have the time, or I'm in that mood, I can jump over there. I don't have to just throw cash out of my wallet to download a game that I may or may not play, and I can do it anytime. And I really love that, Colt. And I know I believe in that Gary, where do you fall on that?
I don't have an opinion on this one. It's too far. It's a little bit out of my wheelhouse, to be quite honest with you. I feel like you guys have got this one covered.
Yeah, you're the best, Gary. You know that.
When you think about Outer Worlds 2 and Starfield, I don't know when Outer Worlds 2 is expected. Like if we're going to see it at E3, maybe Obsidian's just going to say, "Hey, we're ready to start building Outer Worlds 2, and we're going to make it bigger and better, and we'll see you when we see you." Or they're like, "Hey, Outer Worlds 2, 2022." If that's the case, Outer Worlds 2 and Starfield could be very similar games in a lot of ways, right? You've got, in Bethesda games, you take one companion with you, sometimes two. And in Outer Worlds, you take two companions with you, and you go and you traipse the universe. And so when you think about that, like, why would they want to? They're competing with each other. You've got this sci-fi open world RPG and a sci-fi open world RPG. Isn't that crazy? But Game Pass changes that whole scenario, because I've spent a lot of time arguing or extinguishing console war flames about, what games mean this and what games mean that for the platform. Like, everyone has like their bragging rights. And I really feel like Game Pass has changed it made that argument irrelevant, because there's going to be so many games that you could choose from, and Xbox can just backfill. I mean, they're going to put out, I don't know, they've got like 40 games in the works for this generation alone. I haven't done the math, but I think that means you're going to get 5 or 6 really big games almost every year for the rest of the generation at least. So that's just crazy to think about, having that many overlapping and you can't have a game overlapping. I feel like I'm ranting, but do you remember when Titanfall 2 and Battlefield came out? EA was competing with themselves. Was it EA?
Yes. That's EA. And they put Titanfall 2 in the middle of Battlefield and Call of Duty. They let that game die.
And so Titanfall 2 was the victim of a big Battlefield game and a big Call of Duty game. But the only common thread is those games are all $60 a piece. And there are a lot of people out there across the world, whatever your currency is for how much a game costs. I know in Australia it's a bigger number, and it's more menacing to hear that number, what it costs for a full price game. But you don't have to make that decision when you get into holiday season. You're buying Christmas gifts or whatever. EA had a problem. Titanfall 2 launched, same price as Battlefield. People had to make a choice of what they were going to spend their money on. That is not even an argument now with Game Pass.
My thing really quick, I think it's way too early for Outer Wilds. You have to remember, this game came out in late 2019, and then 4 months later we were in a pandemic. So I just don't think they're anywhere close to being able to even tease that game. So I would not expect to hear anything from that team right now.
That team is wild. To hear that Outer Worlds 2 conversation spark earlier in the week, really, and to think of Avowed and think of Grounded and think of what they're doing, it's like, man, that team is out there working, and good for them for always bringing some of the best games around. It's fun as can be.
Yeah.
I wanted to jump in and ask the best friends, our listeners and viewers out there, what they want to see at Xbox and Bethesda E3. So let's round out this show with some, best friend predictions. And I think, Gary, these first two are going to make you smile, because I know one of them really made me jump out. So this is from Jay Armstrong. He said,
"Are these the ones you solicited these on Twitter? Is this where you got these from?"
Yeah.
Okay, all right, good. Hit me.
I'd like to see Microsoft acquire Asobo and using the flight simulator engine to make a huge Crimson Skies MMO with a global war of factions across a realistic steampunk-styled Earth, using exaggerated weather like constant storms or heat waves that can overheat your plane."
I mean, you know where I stand on the whole Crimson Skies question in the first place, which is, absolutely, it needs to come back. In the same way that Paris is very passionate about Banjo, I'm very passionate about Crimson Skies, and that's the one that I would love to see come back. adopting the flight simulator tech where they're basically going to map to the entire planet. I guess the idea would be that you would take that, but then you would like skin it and put like an apocalyptic skin over it or something. I don't know. That's kind of interesting. I don't know if you would need to do something that drastic to make the game cool, but I'm down for anything that would make it easier for Microsoft to bring Crimson Skies back. And it may well be. I mean, they've made a massive investment in all this technology to get Flight Simulator where it is, which is obviously it's incredibly looking game. They may look at it and say, well, we've built all this we've got this engine, we've got this platform, we've got this incredible, geography technology. What else can we use it for? And maybe there are inventive, innovative ways that they could do some fun things with it. But I don't care what hoops they jump to bring back Crimson Skies. They just need to bring it back.
Really quick. Just I wanted to throw one more prediction out there, and then I have a question for all three of you. Yeah, I agree with Gary. I want to see Wolfenstein 3. I do think we get Wolfenstein 3 announced. I'm not as confident it'll actually release this year like Wolfenstein 2 did, where they announced Wolfenstein 2 and then it was out later that year, but I think we get Wolfenstein 3. The question I have for y'all, I feel like they have to have one big thing for Game Pass. What do you think that big thing
Well,
for
that
Game
was...
Pass?
You know what? I love that you asked that because that is one of our user questions and friend of the show, Assemble Show, says one thing I want from Xbox, maybe even on the Ubisoft stage, is them to announce Ubisoft Plus available now and get it rolling with Xbox Game Pass, maybe 20 titles over the weekend. Barrett, great question. Let's ask the panel. Colt, what do you think? What would be that big Game Pass announcement that they're going to hit us with? Because I know we're not going to have enough time, but Colt, the Xbox Wire blog post about Game Pass updates this month, very, very light. Not usually like them, so they're saving something special here. What do you think?
Yeah, 4 games. Yeah, they just showed 4 games. I was going to say that when Gary was talking about everything that covers Ubisoft. That's been another rumor that's going around. So they announced there's 2 big Game Pass announcements that are very possible, and I'm hearing a very definitive yes and a very definitive no from 2 different sources. I mean, I'm not an insider. Sometimes I get to talk to people who get to hear things. So I just kind of, I always add that to common sense, I guess, and logic. So I'll just throw them out there. One is Battlefield 6 is coming to Game Pass day and date. That's the one where one source is really sure. The other one is like, I don't think so. I'm hearing the opposite, but things are in flux. And the other one is Ubisoft Uplay coming to Game Pass and adding that to EA Play. There's already like 900 some games on Game Pass if you look at everything that's going on. I saw a list that seems super high, but I know there's at least 600. So if Uplay is coming, that will be huge. I think one of those is very, very possible. And I'll
like that.
Let you take it from there.
Yeah, Paris has been a big advocate for seeing Battlefield 6 on Game Pass day and date. We had that conversation the past couple of weeks, and I thought when I looked at that question, I thought I elevated just a little bit further, right, and have some fun with it. So I actually put 3 down, and I'm going to go wild with this. Mass Effect Legendary Edition comes to Game Pass.
Wow.
EA steps on stage with EA Plus and says Madden 22 will release day and date on Game Pass, one of their big sports titles. And my final one, Dying Light 2 comes to Game Pass day one. I think that would be a big benefit for users and for that team over there at Techland. So those are my 3 that I would reach for and maybe throw the dice out, avoiding the Battlefield talk we've already had. Gary, Game Pass, you're using it, you're loving it. What's the one thing you want?
Every time I hear Paris or someone talk about like Battlefield on Game Pass, my initial reaction is to go, yeah, whatever. But then I think, well, you don't know because Game Pass is doing insane stuff all the time now. So we're at a point now where if that were to happen, I'd be like, yeah, okay. I mean, why not at this point? I mean, Game Pass is doing. I mean, I think when MLB the show came to Game Pass, at that point now, all bets are off. Like anything can happen. So obviously, it's in my own self-interest to see these games come to Game Pass because I don't have to pay for them. I like that. What would be my dream game coming to Game Pass? I mean, so obviously we know all the first-party titles will be coming. I actually kind of like the idea of Battlefield because I really enjoy those games. I don't have anyone on the inside of EA who's going to give me a code, so I'm going to have to reach into my pocket, which you know how much I hate to do that, Mike, unless Game Pass come through to me. So maybe Uncle Phil is hearing my pleas here, and we'll get Battlefield on Game Pass, because I actually really enjoy the Battlefield games. I want to try and get back into them. So Game Pass would make that very, very easy for me, certainly. Especially if it also crosses over onto the PC side. I just kind of feel like Activision with its own model and its own Battle.net launcher and everything they're doing. Sorry, I'm talking about EA. EA with its own, it's got this whole Origin thing. They got their own stuff going on. I know that EA and Xbox are kind of, in league together these days with the EA Play stuff being part of Game Pass. But Battlefield is like such a big part of the, EA's. They put a lot of chips in the middle every time they release a new Battlefield game. I don't know. My head says no, but my heart says yes. I'd love to see it. And again, Game Pass is doing such crazy shit these days. You just don't know what they're going to do next. Like, there's almost nothing where I'll be like, what, really? Game Pass did that? Because they've already done a bunch of shit like that. So now we're going to go, yeah, okay, that's on brand for Game Pass. Another big game that you didn't expect come into the service.
Bear, you always shoot down. Oh yeah, go Colt.
I'm sorry. Battlefield has had a rough couple of years. Like, people want to come back with something big. Battlefield 5 had some problems. Battlefield 1 wasn't as big as they hoped. I think if you're going to compete with Call of Duty, that's your best bet, is to go ahead and stretch out and go into Game Pass and hit nearly what they think will be 30 million subscribers by the holiday of this year. So, I mean, if I was, Sarah Bond and Phil Spencer, I'd be saying, if you come to Game Pass, like, look at these numbers. This is the boost you'll get. Everybody will still buy your game, but this is the boost we're seeing. And I can see them going, that's a pretty good idea. And of course, there'll be a dollar amount with that. Come to Game Pass, we'll give you this. This will boost your numbers. And Battlefield may need that, because they could potentially have way more people playing in Call of Duty even, which would be a big thing for them. So that's a big incentive.
When you put it that way, it doesn't sound like quite so pie in the sky after all. From Activision's point of view, from EA's point of view, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. See, we all know that Activision and Call of Duty is the number one, name in this genre. And Battlefield has been playing catch up, ever since it launched. It's created a big platform for itself, and Battlefield games are now eagerly anticipated, and we get excited about Battlefield, but it ain't no Call of Duty, right? And what is in terms of like the real like mega size of it, and the question is, how do you close that gap? And Battlefield games and Call of Duty games come out around the same time of year. They come out around the the holiday period, and the question is for EA, like, how do we close that gap? And maybe one way that you do it is you just make it like a really, really attractive offer. If I'm a gamer who wants to play one of these games at over the holidays, I'm looking at the next big first person shooter. Which way am I going to go? Kind of maybe Battlefield, Mail, or Call of Duty. My money could go either way. If EA roll up and say, well, look, this one's on Game Pass, so you don't even have to risk the $60. You can just grab it right now. One is $60 and one is basically, if not free, already baked into the subscription price I'm paying every month. That's a no-brainer. I'm going to go to Battlefield. And so it could be an incredible opportunity for EA to just put Battlefield in front of a bunch of gamers who otherwise every year are locked into Call of Duty because that's just the habit they're in. But put Battlefield in front of them in a no-risk way. Hey, free with Game Pass, give it a try. Maybe they get a whole new, thousands of other games that go, hey, now that I've tried this, maybe I'm a Battlefield gamer now. I like it over here. So that could be a great way for them to just increase their mind share.
That's interesting, boys. I'm going to come in on a different side and say, well, hold up a minute. We got a first-person shooter that's releasing this holiday window, and that's Halo. Now, hold up a minute. Am I really going to let Battlefield come in and maybe mess with my market? Do you think they say, hey, we'll put Battlefield on Game Pass 3 months or so after release, because we need to own this mind share on the Game Pass market with Halo? Wow. Or do you think, hey, we got to play nice with each other. We'll help you. You help us. We like this partnership. Or do you think they look at it like, hey, like, we have the 3 biggest first-person shooters about to release this holiday season, Halo, Call of Duty, and Battlefield. Do we really want to give that extra boost to Battlefield to battle against Halo?
I honestly think that makes sense, of having 2 of the 3 big hitters on Game Pass. I think that's a big seller right there.
Okay.
This
even
is why they
bigger,
pay Phil
okay.
Spencer the big bucks and he has his job and I don't, is because if you put that kind of like big strategic decision in front of me, well, we could put Battlefield on Game Pass this holiday, which would be great for us, but it could also cannibalize Halo Infinite, and you got to make the big kind of galaxy brain decision. I would just shit my pants and go home. Like, I can't make those big boy decisions.
Well, because they're all about growing Xbox as a platform and like selling that Xbox Game Pass platform.
Just think if they could make the argument at this holiday, say, look, the biggest holiday releases are basically all on Xbox. We got Battlefield. You're not going to have all of them, but like we got Battlefield, we got Halo, we've got whatever else we're rolling out this holiday. Whatever the Bethesda titles they might have. It's like a whole, like, just make Game Pass the most crazy attractive offering by getting the biggest games on it for the holiday period. It's like, hey, you buy an Xbox, again, presuming you even can this holiday. We know how hard PlayStations and Xboxes even are to buy, but over the holiday period, there's going to be a big war trying to get people to sign up for one or the other. And if one of the arguments is, hey, you want to play the biggest games this holiday and it's all baked into a Netflix type subscription instead of having to pay $60 a time, it's hard to say no to.
Mike, you were going to ask me a question.
Oh no, we'll go with Colt. Don't even worry about that.
Halo has something that Battlefield and Call of Duty don't. They're free to play.
Yeah.
So Xbox might not care if a bunch of people jump on Battlefield because they know that they've got everybody on PC, Xbox One, Xbox Series consoles loading up Halo Online free to play. So they're going to bring in so many people. There are free-to-play games that people jump on just to give a try, but knowing this year, I don't think it's really hit people that the next big Halo game, all of the online modes are free-to-play, right? So there are going to be so many people on. They're going to be able to brag that number that they're going to be. It could be 5-10 million people could be jumping on Halo Infinite during that whole entire holiday season, because you've got such a huge audience of people who can jump in without paying even $10 a month. You just go in and download it for free. That could be a big, and there's no Xbox Live Gold paywall behind free to play too. So I don't think they could lose with this situation, even if they brought Battlefield in as a Game Pass title.
It's exciting. That's exciting, Colt. Yeah,
exciting.
you're so right. Of like the free to play, it doesn't hit you quite yet, but it will 6 months down the road. Of like, that's just free to play. That's not behind a subscription wall. That's going to be there. And just 6 months down the road, people could be on Steam going, okay, let's play Halo for a Friday. Let's download it. It's free to play. Let's go for it. It's going to be really cool. Barrett, I'm going to let you end the show because I freaking love you behind the ones and twos. You get to end the show with your dream Game Pass announcement. You've shot us all down over the past weeks of like, no Persona this, no Persona that. You get the bad Persona is what you yell at me all the time. I'm going to let you end this week's episode with your dream Game Pass announcement.
Whew, that's a tough one. Again, like I'm exclusively Game Pass for PC, so like honestly, just like a dedication to making the library on Game Pass PC as expansive as the Game Pass on console. That's honestly my dream right there, because you know me every couple weeks, Mike. I'm like maybe I finally buy an Xbox Series S to get full advantage of the console Game Pass library there, and every time I'm like, no, I can save a couple $100, especially with hopefully a new Nintendo Switch coming out sometime soon. So I hope they kind of dedicate more to Game Pass PC. There's no way Joker or Persona 5 Royal or Persona 4 or anything. No way. Everybody's so confident about it. Y'all gotta remember, Atlas is weird as fuck. They put Persona 4 Golden on PC 8 years later when it came out, 8 years after when it came out to Vita. So I don't see it. I would love it because that would mean more people get to play my favorite game of all time. But sorry. But yes, more Game Pass PC dedication, please.
How amazing would it be though if Persona did come to the Xbox? I would love that.
That would be the Gatorade get hype moment right there.
I love that. That's a great way to end it right there. Maybe Persona, but a dedication to the PC side of Game Pass, Barrett. I really like that. Of course, this week we have been joined by the mega influencer, the dude on YouTube, the man now running the podcast you got to listen to, my guy, Colt Eastwood. Colt, it's been a lot of fun to laugh with you, to share the stories with you, and of course, to talk about E3 and share some predictions. So thank you so much for joining us one last time. Where can everybody find you? What awesome stuff are you doing? And what are you looking forward to this E3? Just one final moment.
Yeah, you can find me at Colt Eastwood on Twitter and YouTube, where I do weekly, sometimes 2 times a week videos. I've got that podcast on Monday called XNC, the Xbox Newscast podcast, where I think Mike, you're going to come show up on that pretty soon.
100%.
I think
I
Monday.
really want to. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been really great. And for E3, I think the big takeaway, we've said a lot of stuff. Some of the stuff is like, oh, I'm a little worried. Some stuff we're really super excited about. But I think Microsoft's going to send us home with this big message. And the message is, if you have an Xbox or Game Pass, we're going to give you so many games you won't even have time to play all of them. And I think that is even true for 2021. So they're going to show us a bunch of stuff at E3. There's going to be 6, maybe 8 games that come out this year that are going to take our time to play. And then you got the big stuff coming to Game Pass. So that's what I'm super excited about. I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't be making videos if I didn't love gaming so much. And I just think Xbox is going to give us a ton of games to play. And thankfully, I'm a Game Pass subscriber, so I'm not going to be shelling out hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars this year because there's so much good stuff to play.
Gary Whitta, what awesome stuff are you doing? Are you going to get away from the desk and grab the controller finally this week?
Maybe a little Knockout City finally this weekend with some friends. I suck at that game so much, but I'm a trier. I keep trying. I'm gonna try again this weekend. I got a couple of other games that I want to maybe kind of dip my toe into. Where you can find me, it's just my name, Gary Whitta at Gary Whitta, G-A-G-G. Wait, I got to spell my own fucking name. You can tell it's a Friday, can't you? GARYWHITTA on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. And I'll give you my final E3 prediction. It's something I mentioned on the show before, but I want to come back to it. It's very silly. It's very inconsequential, but I just want it. I want it's the 20th anniversary of the Xbox. I want a 20th anniversary Xbox Series X or S, and I want it in that chunky, bulbous suitcase form factor of the original Xbox, right there, like you got behind you. Even if you mark that thing up crazy expensive, do a limited edition of it. I'm telling you, they will sell out so fast. Look at that big beefy boy. I love it. And it's it roughly looks to me. I'd be interested to see the specs, but that is about the same volume, I think, as a Series X. I think you could easily reconfigure the Series X guts inside a case that looks just like that. The classic black, go back to basics. Obviously, the UI, the I/O and the front end and stuff like that. The ports and things would be slightly different. Maybe they do a slot loading drive or an all digital edition or whatever. I don't know, but that's what I want. I want something a little bit special. It is the 20th anniversary. We didn't talk about that at all, but that's something else that I think as we get closer and closer to November, Microsoft's going to be making more and more noise about that. Not just the 20th anniversary of Halo, but the Xbox platform altogether because they launched together. So I think they've got some tricks up their sleeves. I think you're going to see some special edition hardware to celebrate the 20th anniversary.
And possibly a mini fridge, Gary. Keep an eye out for the mini fridge.
Too. Absolutely.
Mini fridge, Dad. I'm freaking out. Gary, you're incredible. Of course, I've been one of your hosts, SnowBike Mike, and I'm going to finish our E3 predictions episode like I always continue to do. I need you to bring back Fusion Frenzy. I want you to make 1 versus 100 special and great again. And most importantly, please, Phil, bring back Conker's Bad Fur Day, okay? Bring back the mature squirrel. I want Conker. Paris yells about Banjo. I just want Conker because he's just so much fun. And I will also say one more thing. Can we get Battletoads online co-op? Because I would love to play Battletoads one more time with my friends. Online co-op. And that's how we'll end the show. Of course, leave your Xbox and Bethesda predictions down below. Your hopes, your dreams, your big wishes. I don't need to know the stuff that you already know. I want to see what you really want out of the team and the ecosystem over there. On behalf of Barrett, Gary, Colt, and myself, thank you all so much for listening and watching. We'll catch you back here next week for an actual special episode. Paris will be returning, and then we'll be live reacting. We'll be live reacting to E3 over on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames. Be there. See you, gamers.